My name is Lindsay. Welcome back to my channel. Here on YouTube, I upload very girly girl, lifestyle, chronic illness and disability awareness, LGBTQ, soon to be service dog content. For today's video, I'm doing something that is highly requested, and it is my hEDS diagnosis story. How I came to get the answer to all answers. This is the diagnosis that kind of made all the dots connect, kind of made everything make sense in my health journey, because we kept feeling like it was one thing after another and we were like, why are all of these things happening? And hEDS is the answer. I'm so glad we finally found it. But today I'm just going to kind of be telling the story about me growing up, signs I saw, the comorbidities that come with it, symptoms I've experienced, doctors, and how it came to me. But let's just get right into this video. It is so highly requested. Here is my hypermobile ehlers-danlos diagnosis story. So this is the first time I'm actually filming in my new place, sitting down doing a talking video. This is the first time ever making a little setup so I can do a sit down talking video for you all, and I'm so glad it's for this video because this is the diagnosis that literally made all of my other ones make sense, and it has truly changed my life and given me a lot of peace when it comes to my living with chronic illness and disabilities. As you can see, I have a PICC arm in my left arm, I have a G-tube in my stomach, I have lots of chronic illnesses and issues, and those are all, according to my doctors, due to my hEDS. If you're wondering what is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, what is it? It is basically a connective tissue disorder, and it is a genetic condition. It basically means that your collagen is faulty, and that is affected throughout your body. It affects your connective tissues, which includes skin, joints, blood vessels. It can also affect muscles like your stomach. Honestly, I'm still learning and educating myself on it as I go. When I was researching and going through my notes and stuff for this video, it was crazy how many things actually made sense. So I was not diagnosed with hEDS until now, until I am 23 years old. And I have red flags from day one, from when I was a baby, that I didn't even know were red flags until now. Like I said, all the dots were kind of connected for me once I got this diagnosis. So I'm gonna kind of start with childhood. What happened to me as a child, what kind of were red flags that kind of led to this early on that I didn't even know about until now. Let's start when I was a baby. I called my mom just to check on this, but I was so sick as a baby, as a kid. I was always sick, always in the hospital. I had pneumonia 12 times before I was 2 years old. I was consistently getting aspergillosis. I started my cyclical vomiting when I was a young toddler. My triggers was actually surprises. So I was surprised one year for my birthday. Friends who were a military family, they surprised me for my birthday. I was so excited. I ended up in the hospital that night throwing up nonstop, and they said it was cyclical vomiting, and that's something that I still struggle with to this day. I don't remember any of this. This was all my mom being like, yep, you had literally had pneumonia 12 times before you were 2 years old. The doctors did not know what was wrong with me. They were like, why is this toddler who was carried to full term, why is she so sick? Why is she getting aspergillosis? Why is she getting pneumonia? Why is she vomiting her guts out? Like, what is going on? The next thing is I also grew up with several allergies and food sensitivities and intolerances. So I actually grew up being allergic to soy. So the only thing I remember eating as growing up as a child was the little white cheddar popcorn, because it was one of the only snacks that I could have that didn't have soy. Every school field trip, everything. I don't know what it was, but I was just getting so sick. Did the allergy testing on me, and they told me I was allergic to soy. So it was several years that I grew up, I wasn't able to eat anything with soy in it, which soy is in almost everything if you think about it. And now I'm lactose intolerant. I can't do straight normal milk. I have to do Fairlife milk because it's lactose free, I believe. Just growing up with food allergies, food sensitivities, the doctors never knew why I was so sensitive to all these different foods and stuff, but it really restricted early on my intake and what I was able to consume and sustain on. Another thing is that I grew up a competitive cheerleader. From when I was little, I started in football cheerleading, and then I went into competitive cheerleading. I did that like my whole life, all through grade school up until freshman year of high school. I did it all of that time, so that was like 10 years. I don't even know. It was several years. I was always getting injured. You can ask anyone who went to grade school with me. I was always in a brace, always had a wrap on at my knees. I fractured my right knee. I partially tore my left tendon. I broke toes. I broke fingers. I dislocated things. I pulled muscles, sprained things, broke things, and I was always injured. Always injured. And it was like as soon as I would be healing or recovering from one thing, I would go on to the next. I had severe scoliosis growing up because I would have such bad muscle spasms in my back that it would pull my spine out of alignment, and I'd have to go to physical therapy and they'd have to pop my vertebrae back into place. And I look back on this now and I'm like, oh my god, it's been EDS this whole freaking time. But then again, I just thought it was like my muscles being tight because of cheer and everything. But I also was a very flexible, bendy kid. I was able to keep up with that. As I was doing some research and I made friends in the EDS community, a lot of people who have EDS now, especially the hypermobile type, used to be gymnasts, cheerleaders, etc. because we were flexible, bendy kids, you know? We could kind of thrive in those environments. And also injuries are expected in those environments, so it's just something that's part of the sport and you move on. However, I was wondering why everyone around me kept getting better and kept like not having issues, and I kept spraining a muscle, getting a setback, having to recover from that, trying to go again. Like I kept getting injured and I didn't know why. I truly did not know why. Me and my doctors were unsure. We had no idea or explanation why. I remember being in school and my hands would hurt from aching from holding my pencil and writing and trying to keep up in class. I always just dealt with it and just would stretch my hand out and then do it again. Doing cheerleading, it also suppressed my growth. I was also on asthma medications. I also grew up with asthma. That's another thing. I have no idea if that's related to my EDS. Who knows? High school started, I stopped competitive cheerleading. I got off my asthma medication and I grew like crazy. I grew super fast without warning. I had so much pain when I was growing, and they always were like, oh, it's just growing pains, but like, I don't think it was growing pains. I grew so much so fast to where my body couldn't even keep up with how fast I was growing, and that is why we assumed I had all these like musculoskeletal issues and why I was constantly in physical therapy. I always thought it was because of cheerleading. I was like, it's a tough sport, you gotta just deal with what you gotta deal with. But no, it's not normal to get all these injuries from the sport constantly and then taking forever to heal from them and recover from them, and then just getting another injury. And something else to point out is I also wore glasses when I was a kid. I had a period where I wore glasses constantly when I was younger, and then I had a break where I was like fine without it, and then I think I got glasses again for reading in high school, and then I used them in college a lot more because my eyesight just got worse as everything got on computers more. So I always had vision issues. I remember when I was cheerleading, I would tumble and I would see stars, and it was never an issue then. I still realized it. Like I remember one time, because I was wearing makeup, I was like, oh, it's probably my eyeshadow, I'm just seeing the glitter. Nope, it was stars. I was seeing stars because there was one time it happened and I was like, I'm not wearing makeup, but it wasn't to the point where I would pass out from it or I would have a medical episode from it. But it was still something that I noticed. It was still a form of dizziness from flipping, from tumbling. So those are basically all of my childhood warning signs. I know it was a lot, and like I said, none of these were red flags at that moment. This was just like, oh, she's injured because of cheerleading. She's just got to recover from it and deal with that. So now I'm going to be talking about the comorbidities that came before I actually got diagnosed with hEDS and we were actually able to connect the dots. As you heard, I had a lot of issues as a kid. I was a very sick kid, and then I had that period of cheerleading where I was healthy. God forbid I was able to function like a normal kid, except for I was always getting injured and I was having those cyclical vomiting episodes and allergic to lots of things. So I guess I was never really normal, but normal's boring. That's what I tell myself. Normal's boring. So I got a very severe concussion in 2016. It was my senior year of high school in the fall, right before 2017, which was when I graduated from high school. So this concussion was very severe. I was a back spot. We were practicing a pyramid. My flyer was doing a flip onto her stomach and she flipped crooked somehow and I got kicked in the face. I don't know how I didn't black out. I think I might have, but I just didn't remember it. But it was rough. That concussion is kind of what was a spiral effect and kind of led to my downfall and the spiral of everything kind of getting worse. So that concussion was very severe. It had me out of school for several weeks. I couldn't do sound. I couldn't even look at my phone or watch TV. Like, I literally just had to sleep and exist and keep my eyes closed and just listen to stuff. I couldn't do loud sounds. I couldn't do bright lights. And it was horrible. I had a speech slur, stutter. I couldn't form thoughts right. I couldn't speak correctly. I couldn't even form thoughts to speak correctly. It was a very severe concussion. So I actually ended up going to the Kennedy Krieger concussion clinic, and that was the first time that they ever said, hey, we think you're borderline POTS, because they had me lay down, they took my blood pressure, my heart rate, they had me stand up, they took my heart rate, blood pressure, and then they were like, you're borderline POTS, have you ever heard of that? And at that time, it was the first time we had ever heard of that. We were like, no, we've never heard of that, like, that's interesting. But I was borderline, so we kind of put it on the back burner and just tried to treat my concussion, which, God forbid, the treatment there was awesome. We did craniosacral, physical therapy, we did a bunch of other stuff too, and it helped me at least with the concussion side of things. However, the traumatic brain injury that I experienced from that concussion led to the spiral and downfall, and the amplification of all the issues that I now realize I did have as a kid. They just weren't bad enough to be disabling until they all kind of spiraled out of control. Diagnosed with dysautonomia and POTS in about 2018. So I started college my fall of 2017, and going into 2018 I started having syncope episodes. So I passed out in my friend's dorm room, and they took me to the hospital. They were like, that's weird, so you should see a cardiologist. So I went and I saw a cardiologist. I have a video on my gastroparesis diagnosis story, my POTS diagnosis story, and my SMAS diagnosis story. I'll put them in the cards above. If you want to watch those story times, go ahead and watch them. They're definitely more in detail. I'm trying to focus more on like what led to my EDS and the EDS part of things. However, all of these comorbidities also play a huge role in leading to me finding the diagnosis, so that's why I wanted to talk about them and to discuss. But if I don't go too into detail about it and you want to hear more about those illnesses, I already have videos on my channel about them, so I just wanted to let you know that. I got my POTS diagnosis after I saw a cardiologist. We did a Holter monitor that I wore for, I think it was 2 weeks, which I had horrible skin irritation from, which that is the first EDS really red flag, is I had super fragile skin. I was bruising like a peach, constantly bruising. All of my scrapes and scratches would always heal so slow. I had horrible wound healing. I started having tachycardia, shortness of breath, overheating. I was having a lot of issues. I was getting ringing in my ears. The thing that actually ended up diagnosing my POTS was the tilt table test. So after we did the Holter monitor for 2 weeks, and I had horrible rashes from wearing the stickies on my chest. Go way back on my vlog channel, like on this channel, and see vlogs from when I actually was in college wearing my Holter monitor. Pretty interesting times, but my camera's overheating, so I'm gonna take a quick break and then I'll be right back. The next thing is I started having very severe gastrointestinal issues. I was having lots of pain in my stomach. I was getting very full after eating. I would get pain after every time I would eat. I was just overall not feeling good. I was throwing up randomly. I was having to leave class to throw up. So we started doing more testing. You can see all of this documented on my channel. My whole chronic illness journey is honestly on this channel, so have fun binge watching if you'd like to see the background of that. Why did I set an alarm for 5 o'clock? Started having really bad nausea, really bad pain in my abdomen and in my like upper bottom chest area, and it was just getting really bad. So I saw a GI doctor and we started doing some standard testing, and that was when she actually discovered that my gallbladder, I think it was first hypoactive and then it was hyperactive, I don't even remember, but it got to the point where my gallbladder was functioning at 2%. I was in the hospital because I was throwing up constantly and I couldn't stop. I was throwing up green everywhere, which is bile. Gallbladder wasn't working. If you don't know, your gallbladder is what controls your production of bile. I had to get my gallbladder removed in an emergency surgery, vlog of that on my channel as well, because the gallbladder was functioning at 2%. So they had to take it out because it was dead and they couldn't leave it in there. So they had to take out my gallbladder. And then after that, I was like really hopeful. I was like, oh my god, yay, my GI issues are gonna get better now that my gallbladder's out and everything's gonna be fine. Yikes. Little did I know, then would come my SMAS diagnosis. Definitely don't remember a ton about this off of the end, other than my pain was getting really bad, and what I was able to actually eat was becoming very limited, and I was also starting to struggle with staying at a healthy weight at this point. I'm not going to go more into detail with that because I don't want this to become triggering to anyone, but that was an issue that was starting to happen. After I got my SMAS diagnosis from my GI doctor, the goal was weight gain, because essentially that is how you can fix the duodenum and make it open that angle so that stuff can pass through. It's just adding more fat to that fat pad so that it will open it up more. That's like the only way to treat SMAS. However, I wasn't able to be successful with this. I tried many things. I tried stuff that I don't even talk about on YouTube. I was working with my doctors and nothing was working. I wasn't able to get to a healthy place, and we didn't understand why, because I was doing literally anything and everything that I could, even putting myself through stuff that now I have CPTSD from. I put myself through all of that to try to get better because I was convinced I was the problem. Before I saw a GI specialist, and he did some testing, and that is what led to my gastroparesis diagnosis. I received this in 2021, and if you don't know what gastroparesis is, it basically means that your stomach is partially paralyzed and it does not move food. It sits in your stomach. It creates bacteria, which I've had SIBO more times than I can count. I've had to take antibiotics to treat the SIBO, which is basically bacteria because the food is sitting in my stomach, it's not moving, so it creates bacteria when it doesn't move properly. And that is why I was having so many vomiting episodes. My vomiting was getting really bad. This is when my cyclical vomiting kicked back in. I didn't even mention this, but I started having seizures in 2020, and that started wreaking havoc on my body all in itself. That is, I'm pretty sure, is separate, so I'm not really talking about that. But yeah, 2021 is when I got diagnosed with the gastroparesis, and that is when we were going to place an NG tube, NJ tube. I think they were trying to place an NJ tube because putting it into my stomach wouldn't really do anything because my stomach's paralyzed because of my gastroparesis. They tried to place the NJ tube, and let me tell you, they tried to place it several times and it would not work. It would not place. And keep in mind, in that vlog, I was furious. I waited a whole week in the hospital for that procedure because they had to order the tube to come in, and then for me to come out of surgery and realize it's not my face and that I went under for nothing, I was furious. So I was obviously really stressed out and like, what am I gonna do? Because this was gonna be our solution to helping me get to a healthy place, to help my SMAS, to help my gastroparesis, to help me be able to live more of a normal life, because at this point I was fainting all the time. I was having horrible tachycardia. I was having horrible nausea. I was barely able to function. Thank God for the pandemic, because classes became remote and I was able to maintain class in school. I don't know how. Let me tell you, I don't know how, but I was able to maintain through the pandemic while my health was wreaking havoc in 2021. And let me tell you, 2021 was probably the worst year, because after the NJ tube placement failed and we realized I still have no form of nutrition, no way to get myself nutrition, and doing anything through my stomach is not gonna work because my stomach is not working. That's when I had to get my PICC line. Little did I know I would end up using it for so much more than just TPN, which is total parenteral nutrition. Like I said, watch my gastroparesis video if you want more on that. But my mom counted over 22 hospitalizations in 2021 alone. That is how bad I was flaring. I was literally in the hospital throwing up my lungs every 2 weeks, like almost every 2 weeks. I was having these cyclical vomiting episodes, which were leading to seizures, which would lead to syncope, heart irregularities. I was having prolonged QT waves. It was literally a ripple effect of my body failing. That's literally how my doctor described it. It's a migraine in my stomach, which is the cyclical vomiting, which is causing this aggressive non-stop vomiting. My doctor saw it firsthand. He saw it, and that's why he's so understanding, and he honestly got me to the point where I am today, where I'm stable, I'm maintaining. Now I'm just gonna kind of go through a lot of the signs and symptoms that I experienced throughout all of this time. If I haven't already mentioned it, how it was just one thing after another, and it was literally a ripple effect. Once my POTS started getting bad, then my gallbladder got removed, then I got my SMAS diagnosis, then I got my gastroparesis diagnosis, then I was having SIBO, then I had to get a PICC line, then I had to get a G tube. Like I said, watch the gastroparesis videos for more about that, but It was so many hospitalizations, so many procedures, and 2021 was one of the hardest years of my life by far, 100%. Like I said, over 22 hospitalizations that year alone. So you wonder why I had medical trauma. That's why I had medical trauma. That and so many other reasons. And I'm just going to talk about signs and symptoms that I've experienced. I'm also going to throw in the family history that we figured out and the doctors that really helped me. And then I'm going to do a little test to show you my hypermobility tricks because I think it's fun and I think that'd be a cool way to end the video. So the first thing is dislocations and subluxations. This was definitely happening more in cheerleading. I would have issues and then I would have to like fix it. I'd have to go to physical therapy and they'd have to correct and fix stuff all the time. Especially subluxations, especially in my knees. My knees, I would literally used to toss back and forth like a little football. The next thing is chronic pain. This is where it got discounted and written off. All the doctors were like, oh, it's just growing pains. Growing pains. I'm like, no, it's chronic pain because my body is so tight because my collagen is not working like it's supposed to. Chronic pain everywhere. Chronic pain especially neck, shoulders, back, knees, wrists, hands, and feet too. Chronic pain just everywhere. That was always written off as growing pains. Something I already mentioned, I had super fragile skin. I had easy bruising, I had very slow wound healing, I had fragile velvety-ish skin that is very stretchy and bendy. So yeah, and you can see even just from doing that my skin is red because my skin is so sensitive. That's also why I had the reaction to the little pads from the Holter monitor that I had to wear when I was getting diagnosed with POTS. I also had a lot of stretch marks pretty young, especially on my knees and different places, and I was wondering why. I also was experiencing an increase in my ears ringing, which that can also be a huge sign of it, but I wasn't sure. I just figured it was associated with my POTS. The next thing for me is hypermobility. So I totally didn't even mention this, but there are, I think 13. There are 13 types of EDS, and I have the hypermobile type. So that is another thing, is my flexibility, my stretchiness, my bendiness that made me a good cheerleader and allowed me to be flexible and do all the heel stretch and the bow and arrow and the needle, which was the straight leg scorpion. But yeah, I was very hypermobile, very flexible, very bendy growing up as a kid. As I started having more GI issues, I became very anemic and I started having issues with absorbing iron and fluids without infusions. So now every single day I do saline infusions into my PICC line. I do a liter of fluids every day, especially in the summer because I will literally die without it. With more issues absorbing iron and fluids without infusions because my body just doesn't hold on to things like it's supposed to. That's because of my POTS. It's also because of the EDS. I also was having really bad fatigue. I was having the tachycardia and fainting, the horrible stomach pain and nausea, getting full fast, vomiting food that was not even digested, horrible bloating that was really painful. I was also having a really hard time with my mental health. Like my anxiety was through the roof. It was absolutely horrible. So I really struggled a long time with my mental health, and not only was my anxiety getting bad, but I was having really bad depression and battling lots of battles. A significant decrease in my mental health, especially in college. College was rough. Headaches, migraines, and brain fog. So brain fog I have pretty much all the time. I just kind of have to work through it. It's really hard filming videos because I forget if I've talked about something or if I said something, and a lot of times when I'm trying to say one thing I end up saying another, and then I forget where I was and lose track. So brain fog, it's been rough. It's so rough, especially since I started having seizures. Brain fog has gotten so much worse, especially headaches and migraines too. I feel like I have them every day now. Tension headaches always like right here and then like here. It's rough. For my brother is also very hypermobile. We had him do the hypermobility tests and he can do them no problem. So we're not positive if he also has EDS. We're suspect that he might, and then just got the lower end of the stick because honestly all illnesses, but especially ehlers-danlos, and have different levels of severity and how bad they can affect different people. For my brother, if he does have it, he got the lower end of it because he has fainted before. He has had knee dislocations. His knees used to dislocate all the time when he played basketball. He's also very hypermobile, stretchy. My mom also has arthritis, and I actually had an aunt who was like, oh my god, I'm really hypermobile too. Like I said, we don't know if any of them actually have EDS as well, because I'm the only one who actually went through testing. So all the doctors who actually mentioned ehlers-danlos to me included a cardiologist. He was like, have you ever heard of ehlers-danlos? And I was like, no. And he said, it's something you should put on the back burner, but consider. The dermatologist, actually, because I see dermatologists regularly because I have a lot of moles on me. They said, so you have ehlers-danlos? And I was like, what? I had no idea what it was at that time. They were like, your skin is just really velvety and pale and translucent, stretchy and soft and everything. But dermatologist was another doctor who mentioned it. And then 2 different POTS clinics were the ones who really stressed the testing and actually evaluated and like did a few things to bring us to this diagnosis. The Kennedy Krieger POTS clinic and the Johns Hopkins POTS clinic. Johns Hopkins POTS clinic I only ever saw virtually, but the Kennedy Krieger POTS clinic actually evaluated me and did an in-person like eval and stuff. And they're also referring me to a geneticist to get further confirmation. hEDS. Oh my god, I totally forgot to mention something that the Kennedy Krieger POTS clinic asked me was, do I get these little bumps on the heel of my foot when I put weight on it? And I had seen those on my before, and I literally saw them the other day and I was like, oh my gosh. And those occur in about like 76% of EDS patients, and they're called physiogenic papules. I'll put like a picture on the screen slash the picture that I took, but you can literally see it's basically little fat builds up that are a little circular, and because my skin is so fragile and thin and stretchy and bendy, you can literally just see it popping out. So that was another huge indicator that it was EDS for me. But also when we gave my medical history to the doctors, they were like, wow, that sounds exactly like EDS, especially once they saw how hypermobile I was and how I hyperextend so much. I am very bendy. Thumbnail. Flexible. Alright everybody, well that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Comment below chronically fabulous if you made it to the end of this video so that I know. Let me know if you're also a hypermobile zebra. Zebra is the like awareness for rare diseases because EDS is rare. Let me know if you're a zebra. Also comment some zebra emojis or something. Just let me know. I love building community and making my channel a safe place for people with chronic illnesses and disabilities to not feel alone and to feel like they can be open about their highs, their lows, their experiences, even how they've changed as a person while dealing with all of this stuff. That's kind of why I do what I do, why I make these videos. And honestly, I've had so many amazing discussions recently and on social media and DMs with viewers and subscribers and people who watch my videos and TikToks, and it makes me so happy, and you all mean the world to me. I literally hit 20,000 subscribers on here. Like what? I'm still in shock. So I just want to say thank you for that, and just thank you for coming with me on this journey and for just being by my side and watching me as I go through life and learn and grow and evolve, deal with everything that life continues to throw, but do it with as much grace and love as I can. Yeah, I love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was educational. If you think that this sounds like you, I would definitely, it's something I would look more into, do more research. I'm still learning, still doing research. It's very tough to get an actual diagnosis by a geneticist. I love you so much. Let me know if you're a zebra. If you're a spoonie, I love you. Don't forget to stop watching and subscribe to join the Famurray, and click on that bell so that you know whenever I upload. And I will see you all in my next video. I love you so much. Bye. Mwah!